to the PRO Media. You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
Get ready. It's time for the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Telling you everything you need to know about the Saints, Pelicans, and a whole lot more.
Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports family. Once again, I'm Big Q, and you're rocking with Sports Coma 308. That's right, episode 308. And this is the Saints versus the Rams. That's right, NFC Championship game. 2018-2019 NFC Championship game preview. That's right, 308, baby. So proud of my boys in the black and gold, man. We made it all the way up to this point. Still got some business to take care of. And we're going to take care of it, man, coming up on Saturday afternoon in the Superdome. And you thought it was rockers in that game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Peoples, you ain't heard nothing yet. It's going down in the major capacity, man. These boys taking it to the Super Bowl, man. I'm telling y'all. Since the first practices we laced them up. This is the 4th season of the Sports Coma. And, man, we've been on quite the ride, haven't we, family? Well, in this episode 308, we'll be bringing in the Saints news and notes. We'll be talking about all the good stuff, the additions the Saints added. Guys went on IR this week. A couple of additions we'll tell you about as well. We'll also have other little news items like the mayor of Atlanta making comments. Man, listen, a lady said what she said. We'll go over the story. It's just like, you know, a lot of people taking it too hard. Chill out, man. I mean, come on now. People just too uptight with this in here thing. The Atlanta mayor said what she said. Then our politicians down here, they came in with their own little brand of talking back and forth. It's all in good fun. We'll break the stories down. Dealing with that. We also have the injury report letting you know who will be playing for both teams. The Sports Coma question of the day, which I'll unleash it right now, might as well, is will the Saints have enough to stop Gurley and C.J. Anderson? You know what C.J. Anderson and Ty Gurley did to that Dallas defense. You know, by halftime they were up on them, running over them. Now, I only bring that to bear because, of course, we know about the Sheldon Rankins situation, which he ended up going on IR. We'll have that. We'll break that down and tell you about an addition or two what the Saints need to do in that capacity. But the Sports Coma question of the day is, will the Saints have enough to stop Gurley and C.J. Anderson without all-pro defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins? That's the question, family. Do we have enough? Okay, we have Tyler Davis in there, who looks like DC. We have Taylor Stallworth there, who won his job. The Saints did release Mitchell Lowen. I really didn't want to see that happen, but they did. But are those guys in the latest acquisition? We'll tell you about that. Are they enough to deal with what we're going to see? And probably the toughest matchup of the season, because I think the Rams, as a complete team, are better than anything on the AFC side. I mean, the Chiefs and the Patriots, in my opinion. The Rams are a stiff opponent, and they have a lot to play for in this one here. You know, so, hey, do the defense have enough? Do we have enough to deal with Gurley and C.J. Anderson? That's the Sports Coma question of the day, and what a question. So feel free to chime in on that, family. Also, we'll read the replies from the previous question of the day, and we have a ton of interviews to hit you with in Sports Coma 308, which is Brees, Demario Davis, Alvin Kamara, Marshon Lattimore, and more. All that on the show. So before we get into it, I'd like to thank everybody, our new and established Sports Coma family, for chiming in. Welcome aboard. Like I always said, the Sports Coma, serious Saints talk, no nonsense, no fluff. We down hard. We die hard. Who that black and gold die hards to either win, lose, or draw. We here, baby. And let's get right into the show. This is gonna be an interesting show, man. Now I did a little research, like I usually do, dealing with some of these shows in the upcoming match. Of course, the Saints spanked this team early this year. We know about that situation. We know that we spanked the Rams early. I ain't gonna say spanked the Rams. We beat them, what was it, 45-35? We beat them by 10, but what a game, right? What a game in that one, you know. And, of course, the Rams still kind of got a stick up their butt, mad about that shellacking we gave them in front of a sellout crowd in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And they had some of their best weapons that game, but guys like Cooper Kupp played. Gerald Everett, their tight end, was pretty good, but it just wasn't enough to get them done, to get them over the hump. And it's going to take a lot for you to come in the New Orleans Superdome and knock apart the New Orleans Saints to beat them down. But going into the playoff history, just to give a little brief history on the playoff history between the Saints and the Rams. With the Saints, first time they made the playoffs was back in 1987. Now, of course, this team been in existence since 1966, and they had a long time sucky history before they finally made the playoffs back in 1987 against the Minnesota Vikings and got cleaned up 44-10 in the Dome. Right? I hate to bring up old ghosts from the past, but did you know that the Saints lost 5 playoff games between 87 and 92 before they ultimately got their very first playoff win? And that was all the way from 87 to 2000. Matter of fact, December 30th of 2000, when the Saints defeated, wait for it, the St. Louis Rams 31-28. And that was the St. Louis Rams team led by Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, and the list goes on and on. Ray Agnew was on that team as well. So a lot of really great players. And it was one of those games that went back and forth. And ultimately, it was one. The Saints were able to seal the deal because the wide receiver fumbled the kickoff. Saints recovered and were able to lock up the game. They went on to the next game the following week in a divisional round, ultimately lost to the Minnesota Vikings 34-16. But nonetheless, the Saints won their very first playoff game of the franchise against the St. Louis Rams. Now, of course, fast forward to this date. And, of course, like I told you, we beat this team. They beat us last year in Los Angeles. We beat this team on November the 4th, 45-35. It was a very good game at the time. The Rams were 8-1, Saints were 7-1, and people was bilking this as after the game was over with, we could see these teams in the NFC Championship. Boy, were they white, right? Because at the end of the day, I was saying that same thing too, because the Rams defense, the Rams offense, and the Saints offense, and the way these two teams played were spectacular. When their minds are right, nobody could beat these two teams. And it's only fair that we get two of the best teams lining up in the NFC Championship game in the Superdome. Now, of course, I usually give my prediction in the preview games, but this is the reality that I'm faced with, is the fact that, like I said the previous week, we went over the previous show, the whole regular season, teams are taught to win as many games as possible, because when it comes down to it, when it really comes down to it, home field advantage in the playoffs is uber important. Look at last week's game. All the home teams won. It was a clean sweep. Of course, the Saints kind of gave us a little drama before they ultimately able to turn it up and knock off the Philadelphia Eagles for 2 times in a year, dethroning the defending Super Bowl champions, like I said before. The interesting aspect of this game, of course, the Rams looking for vengeance. They're coming back to the place that they have some semblance of. If you go back and watch that game had a serious playoff atmosphere. This time around, expect no less. Expect no less. No less than that, because it's going to be ratcheted up on a whole nother level. And don't be surprised this week, out of the 2 home teams playing, that the home teams prevail. Remember what the people down in the Superdome, the lovely black and gold crowd, and I got to give them a round of applause for that. That round of applause is to the wonderful Who Dat black and gold family, the diehards in the Superdome, yelling their heads off and cheering and causing Philly to have a bunch of problems. Expect the Rams to experience the same stuff. You can't prepare for an environment like that. They had rock and roll music. They, speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, had rock and roll music playing in the matchup, and loud music blasting, loud rap playing. I don't know, they might have had jet airplane sounds playing while they trying to call signals. Guess what? It didn't work, because that environment is almost impossible to prepare for. They had a little taste of it early on, but this time around, man, how could you not go with the home team? All season long, the Saints been a team of destiny. But enough with my ranting and raving about that. Let's get into some of the stories. Now, of course, starting off with the Saints news and notes, a few things we want to talk about. Number one of the major pauses for concern is the fact that defensive tackle, all-pro defensive tackle, Sheldon Rankins, had an injury last week. He was shelved, placed on IR. He's done for the rest of the year. Very sad, because Sheldon Rankins was the wall in the middle. Him and Tyler Davison fall. He was the guy in the center that really made it work. And without him, it's a serious blow. So some kind of way, by committee, we're going to have to – there's no replacing Sheldon Rankins. So guys are going to have to step up. The Saints did a fantastic job of trying to bring you have Taylor Stallworth, you have Onyemata. Onyemata has been playing out of his mind for the last couple of years. This year he's been really good off the bench, coming in and helping guys. Taylor Stallworth, who was an undrafted guy who made this team over guys that were on the team, has been doing an excellent job as well. High motor guy, very strong, not just a run stuffing D tackle, but a penetrator as well. More balanced defensive tackle than anything. Saints didn't just rest with those guys. They signed defensive tackle Teron Walker to not replace him, but to come in. And I know the Saints are very confident in what Onyemata and Taylor Stallworth been doing, because they've been basically doing that stuff all season long. So the major thing for me is when they brought Teron Walker in here. Now remember, Teron was here before. He entered the NFL with the Saints back in 2012 as an undrafted free agent. You know, that was his path. 3 seasons he played with the Saints. He had about 3.5 sacks with 28 tackles. But he was a hell spawn in that middle, if y'all remember Teron Walker here in his first stint. After that, he left to Detroit. He spent a couple years there. He played with the Rams, totaling 22 tackles and 1 sack and 4 pass defense that year. The interesting stat about this, the interesting point about that, is the fact that he was with the Rams last year. You know, Sean Payton has him in the building picking up certain tendencies of that. That's a little technique that coaches do. Right before they play a stiff opponent, they'll sign a guy that was on a team, bring him in and pick his mind and see what little nuances they can use to expose the Rams defense. You know, and Walker is a guy that can come in and really help. He's a veteran guy, very strong at the point of attack, very solid player. He's 28 years old. He signed with the Bills last offseason. We was cutting training camp, and he was on the street for a long time. The Saints say, you know what? Let's reach back and grab him now that we have to shelve Sheldon Rankins and put him on the injury list because of this tendon tear, this Achilles tendon tear. So I hate to see Sheldon Rankins go like that, but Teron Walker's a guy that's been here. He's a guy that's should help out. Now, I don't know how much he'll play, but I feel pretty decent with him there in the 3 Onyemata and Tyler Stallworth. And I'm pretty sure they'll mix and match and probably move guys around to kind of compensate, to add more pressure. So the Saints have a lot to kind of, I don't know, I ain't gonna never say replace, but kind of fill in for Sheldon Rankins to kind of get through these next couple of games. Real big games, by the way. So big ups to Sheldon Rankins, and welcome back to Teron Walker. Now, also other news to make note of is the fact that my man JT Barrett, man, he can't get a break. JT Barrett was cut by the Saints for the 12th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th time this man was cut by the Saints, and they were able to bring Paul Turner, a wide receiver. They added him to the team. Now, Paul Turner is a guy, of course, the funny part is we put Sammy Cobbs, who we picked up off of Washington, I believe's practice squad, and they placed Cobbs, he had a knee issue, on IR, then put JT Barrett back on the practice squad. And, of course, JT Barrett was then released once again for Paul Turner, which is messed up. But JT Barrett, 12th time, man, that's just absolutely crazy. I don't know if I'll even pick up a phone from somebody that cut me 12 times. I'm going to just be honest with you. I would be like, you know what, man, you can keep it moving. You cut me 12 times in the same year. That ain't never happened to me in my entire life. And you cut me 12 times talking about hang on, and I don't know if I would even answer the phone for them people if they call me. But then again, JT Barrett answered the phone a final time. He can be a part of the Saints team, get a Super Bowl ring. So, but anyway, with him being cut, of course, other news was Sammy Cobb was placed on IR with that new, and they moved Garrett Griffin, who listens to the Sports Coma. Big ups to Garrett Griffin, off of the practice squad to the active roster. Now, what does that mean? Let's kind of peruse this thing into the injury report to say, what does that mean? Well, wide receiver Keith Kirkwood is dealing with a calf injury. He didn't play practice on Wednesday, and he didn't practice. Then Ben Watson was dealing with an illness. He didn't practice either. Now, Andrews Pete, Ryan Ramczyk, and Max Unger, which is 3 of our starting 5 offensive linemen, were limited, but with hand, shoulder, and knee issues. But if Andrews Pete has a broken hand and Ryan Ramczyk dealing with shoulder injury and Max Unger dealing with a knee, you best believe those guys are going to play. They wouldn't miss this for the world. So that's the Saints injury list. And Benjamin Watson, to me, man, with that illness, hopefully it is not too bad for them to activate Garrett Griffin. So very interesting. But the Rams have no injuries. That means they're totally ready to go. They had no reportable injuries as far as this injury report is concerned. So that's the injury report coming into this thing. So a few moves the Saints made to kind of help the team going forward in a few days, getting ready for this NFC Championship game in the Superdome. Once again, before I just unfurl some of these interviews, Sports Coma question of this: will the Saints have enough to stop Gurley and C.J. Anderson without all-pro defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins? That's the question, peoples. Answer the question. Do they have enough? Of course, I told you they got Teron Walker. There's Taylor Stallworth there. There's Daniel Onyemata. There. Is that enough to kind of stop C.J. Anderson and Ty Gurley, who's a pretty potent punch? Similar running styles. It's like being hit with 2 body blows from Ernie Shavers or Rocky Marciano or some heavy hitter with heavy hands, boxing you, just hitting you with cylinder blocks. Can the Saints deal with that in the middle without all-pro defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins? Now, before we get into the rest of our topics, like the mess story and all that, let's hear what Coach Sean Payton has to say. And this is a little bit, I'm going to play a little bit of this extended interview right here because Coach Payton has a lot to say. But let's listen to what the coach has to say about the upcoming matchup against the Rams. Here's Coach Payton.
Sean, how is Sheldon doing? Just, obviously
he's doing good, yeah. Of course he's disappointed. He'll have the surgery. It'll be a fairly lengthy rehab, but it's something that he'll be able to fully recover from. So I think other than that, just the frustration of getting to this far and then being out.
What are the challenges of replacing a guy like that?
Well, I said yesterday, I feel like he's at his best year here, and so the other players have to step up. He was an active part of our front, and you go from there.
Coach, your team has done a really good job stopping the run this year. What does this challenge rank in terms of teams?
Well, look, it's I think one of the top running teams in the league. Certainly the top running back, and CJ, obviously since he's been there, has done a great job. So they're well coached, very very disciplined with what they do, and Sean and those guys on offense, it's pretty consistent. And so. It's winning the line of scrimmage. It's being in the right gap, and understanding the fits.
How are you feeling about the health and depth on your offensive line right now?
Good. I think everyone was full today.
Sean, you've been here a long time, obviously. I wonder, when did New Orleans start to feel like home for you, and why? Why do you think you kind of clicked with the city so well?
Well, the first reason you click with the city is you win.
Yeah.
Right? It could feel like home. I could love it here. And if you're not winning, then somehow you're not clicking with the city. So that's a good question. Probably after 3 years, 4 years. Look, when we came in 2006, it was right after Katrina. And so there weren't a lot of cars coming in. There were a lot of cars leaving. And putting the staff together, putting the team together, at that time, maybe there was 3 hotels open. The airport was desolate. So it was, at that time, it wasn't a real good comparison to where we're at now relative to the recovery. But, we weren't really winning any jump balls when it came to signing players. And, always remember that 2006 team and the 2006 staff, most everyone came with a promotion. In other words, I got a chance to be a head coach, and Gary Gibbs got a chance to be a coordinator, and Pete Carmichael got a chance to coach quarterbacks. Right down the line. And, with the players, it was a lot like that. We signed Scott Fajita, and it was like we have a little celebration in the office with party hats, and then on to the next free agent. So lots changed, but somewhere in that time, it's hard to pinpoint the exact year.
Coach, that first quarter against the Eagles, do you think that was rust? Do you think that's something you put behind you that now you're moving forward, had to get something out of your system?
No, listen, I think it's football, and we didn't execute as well as we would have liked, and yet, fortunately, we were able to get it going. So, you work on the specifics, you work on the details, and you also credit Philadelphia. There's 2 teams that are trying to go out and execute the plan.
You're really big about the prepping process.
Perfect.
That's Coach Payton, man, breaking down the game. Talking about days of Katrina, man. That's not good days there, man. But we made it through, though. But anyway, about to go into our break. When we come back, we're going to finish up on the topics. We got a lengthy barrage of interviews from Demario Davis. Drew Brees has to chime in with his thoughts. Marshon Lattimore, Alvin Kamara. Got replies from the previous question. Of course, the question of the day this time is, will the Saints have enough to stop Gurley and C.J. Anderson without all-pro defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins? Y'all chime in on that. We'll finish our breakdown and discussion and interviews on the other side of the break on the Saints versus the Rams NFC Championship game special. Stick with us.
Saints and Pelicans fan, so the only podcast I can get my fix is the Sports Coma with Big Q. The guy's intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Embrace Pet Insurance is more than just pet insurance. Embrace Pet Insurance promises to provide genuine support and certainty when your pet needs it the most. With personalized accident and illness policies, compassionate customer care, 24/7 access to veterinary professionals, flexible wellness plans, timely claims processing, and online customer portals, their values is what makes them Embrace. So, when selecting a pet insurance company as a partner in your pet's care, you deserve a company that has your pet's best interests at heart. Get top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Up to 90% back on bills at any vet, total protection, pet insurance and wellness, and dependable claims payments. Get the top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Go to EmbracePetInsurance.com. That's EmbracePetInsurance.com. Check the link in the description section below.
Are you a boxing fan? Check out Ring Kings Boxing only on the PRO Media Network.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Hit the link below and rep the black and gold today. Who that? Do you need a domain name? How about a host for your website that can work with WordPress? Try Namecheap.com. They make registering, hosting, and managing domain names for yourself or others easy and affordable because the internet needs people. Namecheap is an ICANN accredited domain register and technology company founded in 2000. It's one of the fastest growing American companies according to the 2018 Inc. 5000, celebrating nearly 2 decades of providing unparalleled levels of service, security, and support. Namecheap has been steadfast in customer satisfaction with over 10 million domains under management. Namecheap is among the top domain registers and web providers in the world. They offer a full selection of popular and unique domains along with fully featured hosting packages, SSL security certificates, WhoisGuard privacy protections, and more, all at the lowest prices in the industry. So if you need a domain name or hosting or anything else, think Namecheap.com. That's right, Namecheap.com. Check the description section below for link.
Follow the Sports Coma on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Perfect. You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. We had a couple of the mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Downs, when asked about who she preferred to play in Atlanta. Of course, Super Bowl is going to be Atlanta this year, and in the new Georgia Dome, I guess you could call it Mercedes-Benz Stadium. She said, just anybody other than the Saints, quote unquote. Quote, I know there's going to be a bounty on my head for saying that, but if it can't be the Falcons, then hey, as long as it's not the Saints, then I'm happy. Of course, that's what Keisha Lance Bottoms said about it. You know, it was all said in a good name of fun because, of course, you know, she's a Falcons fan. How is she supposed to feel? You know, how is she supposed to? What is you expecting a Falcons fan to say? Seriously, you know. But on the other side, big ups to New Orleans Councilman Jay Banks. Jay Banks, he chimed in and shot back a zinger at her, saying, "Guess what? The mayor's just sore because the Falcons blew a 25-point lead and lost to the New England Patriots in the 2017 Super Bowl." He said also, quote, "I'm sorry she feels that way. We will welcome them here," end quote. Quote, "At the end of the day, they shouldn't be mad at us that they suck." You know what, Jay Banks, councilman from the New Orleans City Councilman Jay Banks, big ups to you. Big Sports Coma, shout out to Jay Banks. What a way to protect your hometown team against from insults from a rival city's politician, especially the mayor. You know, anybody but the Saints. But big ups to Jay Banks as he fired a clear cut shot at her. And you know what, Councilman, once we get to this Atlanta, we wipe up the Rams and get to the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be lovely to get the second Super Bowl ring in the city of Atlanta, in the hated rival city? That would be absolutely awesome in my book. That they couldn't get a Super Bowl in their own city when we went and took it from them. That's pretty good. I actually like that big time. But anyway, big ups to Jay Banks. But anyway, moving on to our next topic. Of course, you heard Sean Payton in the previous break. He was talking about what they're dealing with against this Rams club. Now, to be quite honest with you, the Rams are no joke, man. This is a tough team. We know that. They're totally healthy. Last time they didn't have Quib Talib. Now he's back. He had a concussion last game. He's not on the injury report, which means he's going to play. Marcus Peters, who had a little jabber back and forth with Sean Payton, said some stuff. He making little comments about Gumbo and all this foolishness. But listen, isn't this the same crap that happened with the Philadelphia Eagles? What else is a team going to tell you that you beat, that you handled in the dome? Not manhandle like we did the Eagles, of course, but we beat this team. There's no need to brag or talk crap to a team that you beat in your own building. You got them in your building again. Now, of course, you heard what Coach Payton said about when the reporter asked him about was this team rusty, and he said, I'm merely saying this. I know rust when I see one. I see a rusty-ass team when I see it, and that's what it was. The Saints was a rusty-ass team for the first quarter and a half, 2 quarters. Why? Because they didn't play together as a complete unit for 2 weeks. So, of course, this team was going over 2 weeks, actually, if you think about it, because Drew didn't throw a ball in a competitive environment since that Pittsburgh game. Actually, against the Carolina game, wasn't it? Wasn't the Carolina game? Let's see, Carolina playing Pittsburgh. Yeah, there you go. So, at the end of the day, the way I see it is, after the matchup against Pittsburgh, the Saints played and beat Cam the week before that, then Pittsburgh matchup, and then, of course, Cam didn't play in the final final matchup. So Drew Brees didn't play from that final regular season game and some of the offense since that last regular season game until when they played the Eagles last week. That was rust you seen. And you said, well, Q, what do you think's going to happen? You going to see that same rusty-ass team again? You're not going to see that rusty-ass team again. Because remember, toward the second half of the game, the Saints became who they were. And they needed to be woke up. Taysom Hill jumped in there and made some stuff happen. So at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to see a rusty-ass team like we seen in the first half of the Eagles game ultimately turn it on and get where they belong. This time around, this team is going to be laser sharp. And I dare say you're going to see one of the most complete performances by the Saints as a team against this Los Angeles Rams club, only to be surpassed by the performance against the New England Patriots, I'm calling it, in the Super Bowl. So how you love that. But anyway, let's hear what Drew Brees has to say about the upcoming NFC Championship game with those Los Angeles Rams. Here you go.
First in like 9 years, does the time differential give you a different appreciation for it, or have you always had the same appreciation for how hard it is to get to this point?
I think I've always had that appreciation. Listen, I had the chance to be a part of some great teams here and a lot of playoff games. But yeah, three NFC Championship games in 13 years. It's a hard game to get to. That's for sure. And so we won't take that for granted.
When you look at their defense, how are they different with Aqib Talib in there than maybe the first time you saw him?
Yeah, listen, he's one of the captains for their defense. He's a veteran player, so there's a presence there. There's a level of leadership. Obviously, he's a very productive player. They got two elite corners, and you saw them, make those moves in the offseason, and so you knew the intent of that. And yeah, he's a difference maker.
Speaking of that, Marcus Peters wasn't happy about some of the things that Sean said after the first game. Have you followed any of that? I'm guessing you saw it, right?
I think I saw one thing, but I really haven't followed it. No.
Trying your best to avoid it?
I guess.
Drew, getting to this game, is that something that the younger players already understand, or is it something you have to kind of explain, hey, guys, it's not that easy to get here. You can't expect to be here.
I think that's been well communicated, really, as we've journeyed through the season here, and as we've hit every benchmark and made it to each level that we aspire to get to. don't take it for granted. Appreciate it. It takes a lot of hard work to get here. We are still a young team in a lot of areas, but we also have a lot of great veteran leadership, and I think those guys. What the Rams were doing and the success that they were having. They're a phenomenal team, and they had a great season. Obviously, we played them, mid-season, and it was a hard-fought game on both sides of the ball. But I think we had a feeling then that obviously we aspired to be in this situation, and I think we all had a feeling that they were going to be the team that we might face again, and so here we are.
That's Drew Brees chiming in on his thoughts on the NFC Championship game coming up with the St. Louis Rams, man. I'm so old school with that, man. I mean the Los Angeles Rams. Due respect to them. But going back to the matchup against the Rams on November the 4th matchup, when the Saints spanked them 45-35. Yeah, November the 4th in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Let's go over some of the statistics from that game. Saints had 31 first downs versus 23 in that matchup. No sacks from nobody. Total yards, Saints were 487 versus 483. Just an inspired game. Saints only 2 penalties in that game for 20 yards. They converted 7 of 12, which was a major component in winning the game, and held the ball for 33 minutes and 41 seconds against the Rams. Now, Drew, in that game, he was as perfect as you can get. 25 of 36, one of his better performances of the season. 346 yards, 4 touchdowns, and like I said, he wasn't sacked. Came away with a QB rating of 137.0 in the matchup. Alvin Kamara was the top running back, 19 carries for 82 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, rushing and 1 receiving. He had 4 catches for 34 yards in the matchup. It was just one of those great games. Of course, Michael Thomas, he finished with 12 catches for 211 yards and a touchdown in the game. Ben Watson had 3 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Traquan had he had a decent game, 2 catches for 23 yards and a score in the game as well. So the Saints, offensive-wise, were clicking. The defense at first had a little difficulty eventually get going, but they ultimately got going. Demario Davis led the day. He had 7 total tackles in that matchup. And like I said, no sacks were recorded for them. But you look at what the Rams did. Jared Goff, 28 of 40 for 391. He had 3 touchdowns and 1 interception in that game as well. And the Saints held Ty Gurley, 13 carries for 68 yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown. And, of course, at the time, C.J. Anderson was recently added to the upcoming matchup last week against whoever they played, the Cowboys, whatever, and what they did as a pair. Because Gurley was still kind of banged up, but C.J. Anderson took a lot of that pain off of him, and they're a good, heavy duo. Can the Saints interior without Sheldon deal with them is the Sports Coma question of the day. Of course, feel free to answer that. Let's move into more interviews. Here's Marshon Lattimore, who is with 2 interceptions last week and the second interception that sealed the deal against the Eagles. Here is Marshon Lattimore talking about this upcoming matchup.
Marshon, what sense are you getting in the locker room? Has it changed any during any week this season? Is it different now?
As far as what?
Just the move. You guys seem loose.
I mean, we've been the same all year, so no change.
What the challenges of offense like the Rams present to you guys?
Just get the tempo. It's the biggest thing they do, just tempo. And once we get in, and we got to get lined up real quick because that's what they do. They get lined up and run. They play real quick. We got to be good with that, and if we're good with that, I feel like we're going to do good.
How does Todd Gurley's presence and the things they do with him make your job harder? I know you don't necessarily cover him that much, but how does he make it harder to defend the pass when they use him in a variety of ways?
I mean, I don't think it makes it much harder, to be honest. Cause we're number 1 or 2 with rushing defense. We just got to hold up in the back end. It don't make it really harder as far as like covering. I feel like it's not a big. It's not. I won't say it's not a big deal, but it don't make much of a difference. We still have to cover our guys. So. I mean, Cook's fast. And Woods, you know, he do everything for them. He played the slot, he played, the X to Z. He played a lot of positions, and, he can get in and out of his breaks. He's a good receiver, and Cooks, take the top off the defense. So, man, that's really, what them two do.
Marshon Lattimore's thoughts on the Rams coming up, and, of course, he have a very difficult matchup. He'll be facing a top weapon, which is former Saint, former Patriot, Brandon Cooks, who finally found a home in the Los Angeles area. So he'll be matched up on that guy. So y'all watch out for that one. Very, very difficult matchup. Let's go to another mainstay on the Saints defense. In my opinion, all-pro linebacker should be Lattimore Davis. He breaks down his thoughts on the upcoming matchup. Here's Mr. Davis.
How y'all doing? Oh, that's me right there.
Is this sort of strength on strength, their run offense against your run defense?
It's football. They're a well-coached team. Got some very good guys on their offense, great offensive line, two really good running backs, probably one of the, if not the best running back in the league. Great play caller, great quarterback. It's going to be a tough challenge for us.
What do you think about all of this? Just all of the attention, all the media you're going to be doing. I mean, you're cool with all that?
It's part of it. At the end of the day, the game is played inside the lines. It's not played right here. But it's part of it. And so I don't have a problem with it. But the game is played inside the lines. That's what I enjoy.
Lattimore, you mentioned the two running backs, Gurley and C.J. Anderson. There, how do they complement each other? And what are some of the challenges you see from the middle linebacker position to keep your eyes on those guys?
I think when you got two dynamic running backs, you don't have to worry about when you're going to call runs. They can call runs all game, and they ain't got to worry about somebody, wearing down. If they're having success, they could call, 50, 60 runs in a game, and so it's our job to stop it. But they're tough, and they can pose some matchup problems for defenses, and so we got to be locked in.
Describe the emotions of this defense when you guys lost Sheldon Rankins.
He's a phenomenal player for us. Has had a career year. Been very stout in the run game. Been very stout in getting after the quarterback. He created a lot of mismatches, on the offensive line, and was somebody that had to be accounted for. But definitely be missed. But it's a next man up league. That's just the nature of the business that we're in.
That's Lattimore Davis, man. Talk about the nature of the business that we're in. Next man up. Let's keep this thing going. Let's keep the party going. And we're going to party leave a little harder because Damario's there in his honor because of the fall like that after a stellar season. This guy had broke out the bag, man. He was doing terrific things from the defensive tackle position is because his awakening in the interior of the line, why they're the toughest defense to run on in pro football. That still stands very evident. But let's go to the special teams ace. Now, yeah, we talked about the special team, Will Lutz, Thomas Morstead, and how they've been playing. But one of the best people in terms of the additions to the special teams that push our special teams over the top was Taysom Hill. Remember what happened in the Philadelphia Eagles game where we were just like, blah. The offense was super rusty. Taysom Hill comes out. Everybody in the stadium knew it was a fake punt. Even the Eagles knew. And what Taysom did, not only got the 1 yard, but he got 2 or 3 2 more yards on top of it. Taysom Hill has just been terrific. Remember, he threw a touchdown in that game that was nullified by a penalty by Andrews Pete, which was a pretty nice little throw over the top to Alvin Kamara. At the end, it didn't count, but you could see what the Saints are trying to do. So he's been a great addition, and he is a weapon that teams have to game plan for. Taysom Hill. So let's listen to what he had to say about the upcoming matchup against the Eagles.
Did you play the role you're in? You played quarterback. Did you know you were going to do those 2 plays back-to-back before?
No, I had no idea. I had no idea. I was just as surprised as you guys were when, I think Drew got the call and he kind of looked at me like, I hope you're ready for this. And, I kind of had the same thought initially, but it all worked out.
Could you play the role you're in now
as the primary back? Or do you have to have Teddy here to be able to get to all the meetings and do all the stuff, or could you
I mean, it would be a lot. I would welcome it. You know, I would love to do it. But I think that there's a comfort level, you know, from a coaching staff standpoint of, you know, he's on 5 of the 6 special teams units, and I don't know how many snaps I've been playing offensively on a regular basis, but you know, it's increasing.
And Sean talked earlier about how you all use tempo on offense to kind of blitz the defense with all your personnel. Can you just talk about that? How most people don't think tempo and offense, how you all do that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's probably, you know, a better question for a defense to answer. But it's got to be a challenge, you know, and you know, I would imagine that the defense would have to take a significant amount of time of how they're going to view each player, you know, each tight end. Are we going to play base? Are we going to play sub to this? And, you know, I think you throw me into it, it just adds another wrinkle in what they have to prepare for. And I think that's difficult when you get the personnel and then we break formation or we break the huddle and we get in our formation and they have different checks. And I can't imagine, you know, it's easy.
And they're doing it in a frenetic,
in a short amount of time. And, yeah.
That's Taysom Hill with his thoughts on the upcoming matchup against the Rams and the fact that Sean Payton is creating wrinkles. Remember, we had a crappy special teams coach, McMahon, who I think McMahon went on to the LSU Tigers to be their special teams coordinator as well. He's doing a good job there. Not so much when he was here. And, of course, the acquisition of a new special teams coach and, of course, Mike Westhoff coming over with his experience of multiple years and the imagination of the special teams and Sean Payton and all these terrific guys to be able to come up with all these terrific things that they're doing to kind of help move the special teams in a way. We already solved the kicker situation. What I believe Will Lutz is an all-pro kicker. He had a terrific year this year. Thomas Morstead is a Hall of Famer, first ballot in my opinion. And, of course, Taysom Hill gives a weapon to not only the offense but the special teams as well that you have to prepare for. I mean, he averaged, and it was a crazy stat where he's averaging almost, 4 or 4.7 yards a play that he's in, almost almost 5 yards every time that he's involved in a play. That's absolutely astounding for a guy like Taysom Hill, who's basically a utility player. Absolutely excellent what kind of situation the Saints have. And if you're a great coach, you have to really, I mean, the Saints just have to keep you up at night, especially with the defense now here. The offense starting to get back up on that championship level because they all waking up to what they're playing for, the big dance. And, of course, the special teams is here now with Lutz and Morstead and Taysom Hill. Got to keep you up at night if you're a rival coach, I must say. Anyway, let's get to you talking about those guys, Mike Thomas, Drew Brees, and probably one of the baddest men out there along with those guys is Alvin Kamara. That's what he had to say about the upcoming matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. Here we go.
Everybody good to go? Coach talked about a sense of urgency this week, both in walkthroughs and in practice. How would you describe sort of the mood and the approach to Sunday?
I mean, you know, I think it's another step in what we talked about at the beginning of the season, you know, wanting to be champions. So it's in our hands. So the sense of urgency is definitely, you know, something you feel this week. We got a chance to be NFC champions and then a chance to go on and be Super Bowl champions. So, you know, everybody knows what's at stake. So we're preparing like this is our last 60 minutes of football. We got to earn another 60.
He talked about that taste in the mouth that was left over from last year in Minneapolis. How much does that drive you guys? And just, he talks about, he even says that he spends so much time up here because he doesn't want to look back and say, I didn't do this or I didn't do that.
Yeah, that's one thing I will say about Sean. I feel like he preparing like on top of preparation. Like, I mean, it's comforting, to know that you got a coach that cares so much. Like he does everything he can to put us in the best position to be successful, and that trickles down throughout the whole staff. Personally for me, from my running back coach, I mean, he makes sure he puts us in the best position. Me, Mark, Zach, all of us, Dwayne, to be in the best position to be successful. So.
Alvin, how much does it help to have seen these guys already? Same thing with Philadelphia last week, but how much does it help to have already seen them?
It helps because, you can go back to that. You can pull that film back up from that last game and, this worked, or, this didn't work so well, or, we could have done this. So that's kind of what we've done this week. We got to feel like we have a good plan for them and, just fine-tune a couple more things, and we'll be ready to play.
When you look at them now, how much different are they with Talib at the corner?
He's a great player. He's been good everywhere he's been, and he's been good for a long time. So there's consistency there with having him back, and I think they have a sense of comfort with him back. And they've been playing well. They've been covering well. Their front four is disruptive. Their linebackers play well. They got a good defense. They wouldn't be here if they didn't. So we got to execute.
Sean mentioned when getting to this point in the postseason, it's kind of like a drug. It's kind of intoxicating.
Yeah.
Do you feel that sense?
Yeah.
Like on the field?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in 2 years, and I've been to playout. I've been in the league 2 years, and I've been to playout 2 years. And last week we would have been eliminated. So being able to make it past it. Fast forward a year and being able to make it past that point, now I'm like next. Like I need that next pick. So, I'm looking forward to Sunday.
Did you get a chance to watch much of the game last week, and did it surprise you? Probably not Gurley, but just the way Anderson was able to run the ball and kind of hop into that offense and not really skip a beat. I
don't think it's not surprising. I used to watch him when he was in Denver. So, knowing the success he had there. He's a good running back. It's hard to be a good in this league, and it's hard to be good in any profession. But I think when you're a true professional, I think it translates from place to place. So what he's been able to do, I'm not really surprised.
How about I think you mentioned last?
Alvin Kamara talking about the upcoming matchup against the Rams. You heard a few really important things that he laid out there. The fact that the Saints are facing a single game elimination. We look at the playoffs, but that's imperative. You have two really excellent ball clubs matching up against each other. You got the Rams coming into this thing with the Saints. And they're 13-3, 6-2 away versus the Saints 13-2, 6-2 at home. I mean, no matter how you slice it, this is going to be a big one. But, looking at the Rams on their side, they having kind of issues with the weather. The weather don't want to work with them. It's been pouring out there, and they're trying to practice on grass. They having difficulties doing that, so they had to practice in the makeshift hangar and all this kind of stuff. So they intended on working. They really did intend on working on doing the practice outdoors on the grass, but it just didn't work out for them because of the rain. And then they might have to practice on a makeshift tent or practice in an airplane hangar on asphalt. I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see. But a little extra caveat dealing with the Rams before we move away from them is the fact that Robert Woods, who's their do-it-all wide receiver for the Rams, said when asked about the Superdome noise, he said, quote, "The crowd shouldn't have an impact and it won't have an impact," end quote. So I say to all the black and gold diehards out there, Robert Woods say that you won't have an impact on this game. And everybody that's going to be in the dome need to make Robert Woods aware of the fact that we're going to cause problems. We're going to cause some problems for you, Mr. Woods. We're going to cause problems in a major capacity for you, sir. And this is going to be lovely, man. I just can't wait. Anyway, coming into the matchup, I guess you really don't want. I don't need to mention season statistics to that end. They knocked off the Cowboys 30-22. Currently riding a 3-game winning streak. Saints coming into this thing, knocking off Philly and feeling really good, by the way. So moving forward, it's going to be an excellent game. It's going to be a great game, but at the end of the day, we know what's going to happen in this thing. And the Saints are ultimately going to be one of the teams that's walk away. This is our year, and we're going to make it to the bowl. That's what it's all about. Remember that disaster that happened last year against the Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Miracle in a divisional round? Man, we not. And then the fact that the Saints were down 14-0 to this team and had no momentum until we were able to score 20 unanswered. That's never happened before in any playoff environment for any New Orleans team until last week. They're crossing out and exercising demons as a franchise here, right before your very eyes, people. You're seeing the transformation of a dismal franchise used to be to a perennial powerhouse. That's what the Saints are doing right before your very eyes. So I'm very proud to be a witness to this and actually being a documenter of this great transition. Anyway, the Sports Coma question of the day: will the Saints have enough to stop Gurley and C.J. Anderson without All-Pro defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins? They might not be able to stop him, but most certainly slow him down, correct? Tell me what y'all think about that. Fill me in, let me know what's going on with that as well. Now, before we get out, let's read a couple of comments from the Sports Coma question of the day, the previous question, which was, who's your thumbs up and thumbs down player of the previous game, which was the Eagles matchup? DJ Austin chimed in. What's up, DJ? He says, I want to give my thumbs up to Mike Thomas because he ran his nutsack all over the Eagles defense. But besides the Marshon Lattimore thumbs up, and I have one more, and that's Alvin Kamara, my thumbs up. Thumbs down, I don't know, Big Q. That's a tough one. He says, I work at the game, and I was in Champion Square, where I think it's more loud than that dome. But if I had to pick one, it would be Eli Apple. But for your information, if they play like they did in the first half against the Rams, I don't know. Thanks, DJ, for chiming in, buddy. Appreciate the comments. And you're right. I don't know if they're going to play like that. They can't play like that against the Rams. The Rams have too much firepower, and they can run the ball. Eagles couldn't run the ball. They were a one-dimensional team. They can't play like that against the Rams. And I'm going to say not on a limb, but I know for certain that the Saints won't play like that in the NFC Championship game against a powerful offensive foe, both offense and defense. This is the cream of the crop teams in the entire NFC battling for the crown. So I wouldn't say the Saints wouldn't dare turn in a performance like that after the Minnesota Miracle of last year. So, of last season. So keep the faith, DJ. We're going to get him, brother. John Gordon, what's going on, John? He said, what's up, Big Q? My thumbs up goes to Lattimore all the way. He changed the momentum of the game. The team before his interception looked inept with no skill. My thumbs down goes to Traquan Smith. His body language during interviews are quiet, voiceless. Seems to me that a lack of confidence translates to the field. Colston Life was discreet on and off the field, but when it came down to big moments, he was ginormous. How do you want your po' boy? He mastered seam routes in the middle of the defenses after taking big hits, slants, fade routes, and the end zone, etc. Smith needs to step his game up promptly. Who that for life? Appreciate the comment, John. Appreciate you, man. Always intelligent and on-point commentary as usual. Listen, man, I'm going to agree with you on that. Remember, how many shows, John, have I've talked about Traquan Smith all season long. I've been talking about Traquan Smith's body language and about the fact that the game appears to be bigger. You see what I'm saying? Than him. It means that it's just not the same with Keith Kirkwood. Now, I've said this, that if I'm Traquan Smith, I'm looking over my shoulder at Keith Kirkwood. The game don't seem bigger in Keith Kirkwood's mind. His body language is totally different. He's out there having fun. He's balling. Traquan Smith looks stiff. He looks uncomfortable. At times he looks scared. I don't want to say scared because I don't want to make it seem like the man is scaredy cat or nothing. But to me, a lot of the stuff I've seen by Traquan Smith, it's just, you're right. He's not translating. His movement is not confident. Perhaps that'll change going forward. I sure hopes it change because the guy got all the talent in the world. It's just the fact that he just looks uncomfortable. It looks like the game's just in his mind, in his eyes, is too big for him. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't just gotten to that little comfortable area like I see what Kirkwood has done. So maybe in time he'll end up doing. Thanks for the comment, John. Carter Smith says, who that? will not be denied. Big ups to you, Carter Smith. We will not be denied. We're going to conk these Rams in the head and keep it moving, buddy. Appreciate the comment. Soldier for God 77 chiming in. What's going on, friend? He says, Michael Thomas, thumbs up. Marshon Lattimore, thumbs up. Coach Payton, Sean, thumbs up. Our kicker, thumbs down. He got about 12 thumbs down on that. Don't be too hard on him, that Soldier for God 77. I think he went 2 for 3 in that game. You know what I'm saying? He could have really put it away, but that was a really long field goal. I'm not making no excuses, but all season long, Will Lutz has been showing up for us. Just be happy you don't have the kicker from Chicago or some of these other kickers that done lost games, like the kicker that the Browns had, which, you know, cost them that game with us. You know, I just feel appreciative of the fact that we do have a kicker like Will Lutz. So thanks for the comment, buddy. K Slim 17, who that? Big Q, love the pod. Cass, bruh, always on point. Thank you, K Slim 17, brother. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, my man. Share the show. Hit the notification, bro. Let other Saints family know about the show as well. Thank you for the support, my man. Appreciate you. Sean's, and then our final comment is from Sean C. Say, sup, fellas? Thumbs up, Marshon. Taysom Hill, defense. Thumbs down, Andrews Pete. He had his hands full, but he's the weak link on the line. I'm editing a reaction video myself. Saints know how to shorten lives along with the food. Flying home today for a couple days. Who that to you, Sean? Be safe on your travels, my friend. And about Andrews, bro. You know, I ain't going to say he's the wink link, bro. But it's hard. You have 2 all-pros on the end, Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk over there. Then you have Max Unger, who is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. Larry Warford, who's just stout, who's just really developed. At one time, Larry Warford that was actually more of a guard than he was a balanced guard or a pass blocking guard. But his game has come alive since he's been here. And Andrews Pete is right on the cusp of being a all-pro guard in my book. You know, he should have been one this year. And I'm going to give him a little slack on this one here, Sean, because of the fact that he has a broken hand and he's playing with a broken hand. Some chumps wouldn't even play with that broken hand. They'll go sit down somewhere. So I got to give Andrews a little credit for that, my friend. But appreciate the comments. And that's going to do it for our comments for all of the great Sports Coma family. Thank y'all for your comments. If y'all didn't get a chance to comment on this next Sports Coma question of the day, which is, will the Saints have enough to stop Gurley and C.J. Anderson without all-pro defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins? Will they have enough to stop them? I believe so. But you tell me what you think. You know, let me know in the comment section below. That'll do it for the show. Thanks for all the great comments. Thanks for listening. And as always, if you enjoy the Sports Coma, please feel free to go to our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/the PRO Media Network, and donate like my man Sean Sims. Also, you can join our social media family. The links for both those in the description section below. Also, you can support our sponsors. You need pet insurance, you got a pet, you want to insure, you want to get 95% of your money back that you would spend at a vet, sign up for Embrace Pet Insurance. Look for the link below and other great products and services that'll help you save money. But for me and the crew here at the Sports Coma, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you, or you'll hear us this Sunday on our live show, Sports Coma Live at 10 o'clock. Remember, 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Every Sunday at 10. From me and the crew here, thank you for joining us. Peace.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
thank you for listening to the Pro Media Network, who provides hours and hours of free edutainment to you and yours. If you are benefiting positively from our content, please donate to help us grow our platform by going to www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. That's www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network, and support the true independent artists.
Are you a Pelicans fan? Check out the Pelican postgame report on the PRO Media Network.
The Kleins family has been getting people to go nuts for old nuts since 1995. As legends have it, a number of the Kleins friends who heard the idea said you can go nuts trying to name a store like that. In the excitement, the Kleins thought their friends said old nuts instead of go nuts and proceeded to throw caution to the wind. Old Nuts has over 2,000 items, bulk and wholesale prices of a whole lot of your favorite fruits, nuts, and confections, a selection of gift baskets for any budget, any occasion, and provides one of the best and impressively rated shopping experiences on the web. Fact is, between their selection, service, speed, or their online presence in the virtual mirror retail experience, they have developed an enviable client base that's comprised of personal and professional customers who count on their remarkable range of gift baskets. Think of gift basket, think about Old Nuts. Check them out, oldnuts.com. Check the link in the description section below. Go to newfrog.com for all of your electronic gadget needs. Fast becoming #1 online seller of cell phone and accessories, consumer electronics, automobiles and motorcycles, home and garden items, 5D diamond painting crafts, electrical and tool supplies, computer and networking supplies, lights and lighting supplies, sports and travel items, toys and hobby supplies, apparel and accessory, mother and kid items, health and beauty items, and much, much more. Newfrog.com has up to 70% off on some products. And you can check out their weekly promotions for all the best deals. Remember, when thinking online electronics and gadgets, think New Frog. Newfrog.com. Check the link in the description section below. Tea is your escape. It's your opportunity to create a moment for stillness, for reflection, for yourself. It's your connection to a world of senses, flavors both exotic and familiar, energizing and relaxing. It's your retreat from an increasingly turbulent world. It's the perfect paradox of simplicity and complexity. Teabox.com connects tea to people, uniting the richest flavors of the finest teas with the curious, the cultivated, and the adventurous all over the world. The freshest tea you've ever tasted, from crop to cup. There's simply no simpler way to experience the wonderful complexity of tea. Teabox, packing up the freshness. Tea thrives on freshness, and so do they. Teabox temperature and humidity control facility ensure that tea is maintained. The teas themselves go into oblique bags with aluminum layers that protect them from excess moisture and light. With Teabox, shopping for fresh, loose leaf tea is easy because you make an informed purchase. You know exactly where your tea is coming from. So for the freshest teas in the world, check out Teabox.com. That's right, Teabox.com. Check the link in the description section below.
In today's world, children are bombarded with negativity on television, online, and at school. Our kids need to have a positive outlook on life and the world around them. I want to share with you a valuable resource you can use to bring positivity into your child's life. It's the new book, 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. This is a simple guide loaded with wonderful and inspirational affirmations designed to uplift young people's spirits. This positive and powerful children affirmational is chock full and loaded with wonderful inspirational sayings that will lift your child's self-image to whole new levels through the awesome power of spoken word. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. Available on Amazon. Order a copy for yourself, your child's teachers, or anyone you know with children. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image. Order your copy today.
Vapor DNA is the absolute premier online vape store, offering an industry-leading
leading selection of e-cigarettes, e-liquids, and accessories. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service team is always ready to provide the best customer service experience to ensure you find what you're looking for. We guarantee our vaping gear shop products to be 100% genuine and the lowest price. We are so confident in our selection and our customer service. We will offer our customers a 45-day refund policy. That's right, a 45-day refund policy. We are proud of this offer for 3 simple reasons: quality, selection, and price. And that is the reason you should choose Vapor DNA for all your vaping needs. That's www.vapordna.com. Again, that's www.vapordna.com.
What's up, Sports World? The PRO Media Network is on a mission to reach 10,000 subscribers. So besides our regular programs like the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, the Pelican Post Game Report, Rapid Fire TSC, and others, we will be expanding out and offering other content like movie, anime, and gaming reviews for your entertainment. So if you enjoy our content, please donate at our Patreon page. Also subscribe, comment, and share. And help the PRO Media Network reach 10,000 subs. Peace.